Once again, a very good afternoon, everyone. A very warm welcome to all the participants joining us today for for the Google Gemini education session. So today's session will be leading by Sangeeta Gulati ma'am, who is basically a certified CBSE trainer, National ICT Award 2016 certified, and a Google certified trainer and an innovator also. So over to you, Sangeeta ma'am.
Thank you, Bhavna, and good evening, everyone. Welcome to this learning session. I hope you're all looking forward to, learning with me, and will be looking after, forward to what you are going to share with us post or during the session. Going by the, way that meeting has been set up, it's going to come live on YouTube. So I may not be able to follow the chat alongside, but do keep yourself, engaged and interactive on the chat, and the team will definitely follow up on that. So let's get going with the theme and the entire agenda of the session. We do have a lot planned for you, basically trying to make sure that even if you have experimented with Gemini in, last 1 year or so, trying to bring you an insight into Gemini for education, how you can utilize it to your best advantage. So as we are getting ready, do feel free to share in the chat, especially if you are watching us on YouTube. Have you used Gemini and what has your experience been? It will also be wonderful to know where you are joining us from. So which institute you are affiliated with. It will be wonderful to have an understanding of that as well. So feel free to use the chat and let us know your affiliation, and it will be interesting to see how far we are reaching out today. So let's get started with the session, and my screen is coming up. What exactly do we have and what exactly do we mean by Gemini? What are the various special tools that you need to kind of discover and start engaging with? Those are what we are going to highlight. And of course, we are also going to highlight some of the use cases. We would also like you to start thinking alongside and bring those your ideas in as well. Starting with the very first step. Going back a little into the history, when do you think the artificial intelligence term was first introduced? Use the chat and put your suggestions down. What do you think out of the three possible years, 2022, 1995, 1956? Which year did you think the first time the term artificial intelligence was introduced? And if you have decided on your answer, do let us know in the chat. And if your answer happens to be 1956, then that's the right answer. So it's nothing, as we look around and the buzz and the excitement, it's not something which has just happened 3 or 4 years back. Artificial intelligence has been around. Some of you might even be taking courses, on artificial intelligence itself, right? So you are very much aware that that's a term that's been around. It's just become more common because of certain reasons, which we are going to explore. So again, looking back in the history, John McCarthy was the person who's been given the credit for this term, because he was hosting a seminar in his institution, that's Dartmouth, and that is where the term artificial intelligence was used in the agenda. And when the workshop was done, where he brought a lot of scientists to kind of lay out a framework to better understand what he's called as the human intelligence, and then called also artificial intelligence. So that is, as far back as it goes. Also, what exactly is definition of AI? Maybe when we start looking at it in a very scientific way, it might become too complicated. But in a very simpler language, artificial intelligence is that ability of the computer systems to perform tasks that typically require human intelligence. So it's like our brain working. That's exactly when computers start doing, that's where we are using the term artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence basically is achieved through a combination of learning, reasoning, problem solving, and creating. Repeated use of these four steps is what makes the machine learn better. So definitely, it's a process that continues and it gets better. More the machine learns, and the better the artificial intelligence gets. Again, small pop quiz for everyone. Which of the following types of AI can help create new types of content? Is it answer A, answer B, or the answer is C? Of course, if you are happy to share your answers, put that in the YouTube chat, or if you are joining us live, then here, let us know what you think is the one which creates new type of content. And I'm sure everyone would have chosen the right answer, and that's generative AI. Because that is actually which has really changed the way we have got excited about using AI. Earlier, perhaps we were apprehensive of what AI can do, but now everyone has tested and tried at least one tool of a generative AI, if not more. So that's the correct answer. If you have given that as the answer, then of course you know what excitement we are going to share today, because we are going to be talking about Google AI, which is also generative in nature, that's coming through Gemini. But if you look around, you can see that, there are whole kind of artificial intelligence around, and there are certain terminologies and buzzwords that come along with it. So we are listening and thinking about the term machine learning. Many of you might be teaching courses on machine learning. So if you are one of those, just, let us know that you are here today to understand or hear us again, but you may be the expert. So machine learning is that general approach of teaching computers to learn autonomously from data. That's a very, very broad definition of it. Another word that is being thought of and said and used every time somebody talks about AI is the large language model, LLM. So these are the specific type of machine learning models which are going to be trained on massive amount of text data. So the data is the one which is being fed in to give out that output which we are getting excited with. Again, very broad definition being shared, not a very going into the depth of these terminologies. But if you hear LLM, then what does that mean? That's exactly what the data has been used or trained, or to train the model. Generative AI, as we said earlier, is that category of AI which can create new content similar to what it is trained for. So you're looking at images being created, text, of course, being created. You're also looking at music that can be created with artificial intelligence, and the list is endless. So definitely, whole lot of excitement happening, because the creativity, the creative part is also getting enhanced. Just the last question now. Between these three options, where do you think you have most likely encountered artificial intelligence in your daily life? So on a day-to-day basis, without you thinking about artificial intelligence, you are using artificial intelligence. So what are the three out of these three? What are the ways that you have already encountered AI? Email spam filter, personalized recommendations on websites, adaptive brightness on your phone. And if you have chosen the first and the second one, then that's the correct answer. You're looking at the spam filters, personalized recommendations, for example, YouTube, or any kind of OTT, where you're looking at the movie recommendations being coming to you. All of that is being followed by the pattern that you choose to follow. And so artificial intelligence is all around us. Of course, in the Gmail, in Google search, and of the Google Maps, which we highly depend on, the translation that is possible with Google, YouTube, and the list goes on. So there are, AI all around, and we just have got used to them, and still we are learning about them. But our focus today in the next, around 85 minutes is going to be on the Gemini for education, the AI which is going to help you in your environment, whether you are a classroom educator or you are a researcher. You are going to be looking at Gemini, which is a generative AI, which is again creating new content such as text, images, or other media. And it's of course powered by the AI model LLM, which is trained on massive data sets of text and code. And it is, in the last, one would say, not even a month, but in last 2 weeks, it has again leaped to another height and bringing in so many powerful features. So it's growing as we speak, it's evolving as we speak. Another little thing that I want to share before we get down to looking at the tools, etc., is to understand why one should opt for Gemini over any other tool. And that is simply because when you're looking at Google for education, Google Workspace for education, as we call it, it provides that industry leading educational technology which helps you create a safer digital learning environment, whether you are in a K-12 system or you are in a higher ed. So the privacy that is offered by Google Workspace for education when you use Gemini is absolutely secure. The data that is being generated as you or your students use Gemini is not going to be used for further training of any model. So that is the assurance that comes with using Gemini in Google Workspace for education. So when I say Google Workspace for education, that means your domain, your institution workspace domain must be affiliated with Google, and that is what, and your students also would be using the same against the consumer Gmail IDs that you might use. So that is where we are looking at. And of course, Google Workspace for education has different models. And if you are on fundamentals, which is the free model, then also you are able to access most of the features that we are talking about. But something special awaits if you opt for Education Plus, where you will also be able to integrate it inside the classroom in a much more robust manner. Moving ahead to what exactly Gemini follows or brings you, of course, it will help education and leaders like you save time as we go along and see how quickly the things are getting done. It makes you make the learning personal for your students. It will help you to captivate each student with the content that's tailored to their needs and interest, and again, not taking too long or too much time out of your schedule. It also definitely will inspire creativity. So if you have got a set of lessons and you want to give them a fresh look, enhance that engagement, which is so much needed for the current times, as the students have gone ahead of us. We now need to bring them back to our classrooms. So bringing them back to the classroom always requires a little extra effort. And so the creative ideas that you might be looking for are going to come through Gemini. And of course, there is going to be lots of other small and hidden features which you had not seen, which will help you make your work so much robust and so much useful. At the same time, again, ending with saying that all of this is going to be done while keeping your data private and secure. When we think about Gemini, it of course again comes in different model. We are going to only cover the Gemini, which is free, all that features that we are going to show for the, because what you see in the free is also immense. But of course, there are other models which one can apply for as a license and ensure that you get the maximum that Google offers you. Taking a quick look at some of the top use cases as an educator, what are the things that you can do if you have a complete blank page and you are struggling to get an idea for your grant proposal, or you want to create kind of an interaction with your alumni, recommendation letters which educators write, and especially now is the time when we would be putting down all those recommendation letters, or even a simple communication with the parents where you really need to think about putting all the facts together, but making it more relatable for the parents. So all of that can be done in no time. Long documents, absolutely text-based documents, which are so difficult to process, whatever the format may be, they can be analyzed, they can be summarized, and you can also create more content from the content that you already might have. Brainstorming new initiatives, developing professional development material, whether you want to create entire set of resources for your students or your faculty members, all of that is possible and doable with Gemini. So let's go and meet Gemini. If you have not interacted with Gemini at all, you may use your workspace account, or if you don't have that, you can open any Gmail account as well and go to gemini.google.com. That is the kind of an interface you will get when you are on a web app. You can also download the mobile app. So there is a QR code here, you can scan and make sure that from the respective Play Store, you have Gemini downloaded on your phone as well. When you are signed into the same account, the two interactions, they talk. So if you start a conversation on web app, the same conversation will be seen in a mobile app as well. So nothing is lost if you move out of your web and come to the mobile. So that's one advantage, and you can visit old conversations as well on your mobile map, provided you have signed with the same account. When we look at the anatomy as to what the structure of Gemini is, this is a kind of a outline that you can see coming up if you have signed in, where you are looking at a little chat box right there where we can attach files, we can upload files, even with a pro version you can even upload the code. But there are other tools that will process this data that is added in. So we are going to look at most of these tools, which is where you will have a deep research, you have guided learning. We are also looking at Canvas, which is amazing, and of course creating images, etc. And on the other side, you can see that we have our little microphone there, where you can also, instead of typing, you can even speak into it. So that is basic, very basic structure that you would get. So let's get started. But whenever you are using any AI tool, what really is important is what you ask it to do. So that is where the prompts come in. What or how should I prompt AI to respond to my request? And that prompt can follow any particular kind of structure. Google recommends the structure where we have PARTS, 5 components. So parts framework is recommended. You can use or bring all these 5 components in your prompt, or again, depending on the situation, you may start with 3 and then iterate the prompt and make it to be better with 5 all 5 components coming in. So let's pause there and take a look at each one of them, what the part structure recommends. So when we look at P stands for persona. So here is where you will identify what you want to, or who rather wants to create, and what do you want Gemini to work as. So if you are an English professor, then you might want something connected to your field of work. So you will prompt Gemini to be thinking like an English professor. That is what you're looking at as the giving the persona to the prompt. That basically helps generative AI to tailor to the output, tailor that particular output to your specific role. Then comes A, which is for aim. This is where you must state your objective very, very clearly. What do you actually want to achieve is what you would write there. Recipients is what R is suggesting. Who is your audience? So if you're teaching undergrad students, or you're teaching maybe postgrad, or you're looking for possibly a meeting with parents, or you are doing a seminar and you want to present a paper, who is going to be your audience? That need to be specified there. Theme is where you will explain or describe the desired style of the output that you want to get. And also, of course, specify, maybe you just need to write a formal report or even a suspenseful story. So everything goes there. Try to add details as much as possible. S is for structures. That is the format in which you want the output to come. Sometimes you may want a bulleted list. Sometimes you may want something which can be tabulated, but that tabulation in Gemini can also lead to exporting that table into the Google Sheets. So if you are looking for a tabulation, then do mention that, so that Gemini helps you create it, so that that same table can be then exported into a Google Sheet, where you can again either collaborate or you can edit it any way you want. So that's where we are looking at the 5 components that makes the prompt as suggested by Gemini, and it does work. It does work very well. At the same time, the basic rule of prompt is that you must iterate. If you do not get it right in the first go, then enhance that. Ask for specific nature of format. You may not be interested in a list, but it has created a list. Then you need to specify and change that. So keeping that and having an open mind about what we are going to be talking about, let's get going and take a look at a prompt and see, it might sound very detailed, but if you have something like this, it automatically, the result that comes out of it is going to be more detailed. So if you just take a look at the statement that is added in there, you have to act, the prompt that you are using is to analyze certain social media data for marketing research. So act as a data scientist specializing in brand and marketing analytics. So this is the persona we are giving it. And then the task, what task is it going to perform? A detailed analysis of public perception and consumers. So the entire thing is being very rigidly, I would say, but in detail, following that TARTS. Aim has been specified. What that analysis is going to do is mentioned very clearly. What kind of a tone and theme your report must follow, it should be clear and concise. And then we are looking at what kind of a data or how should that a report be formatted. So all of that makes the prompt that we are looking at. And again, I'm going to give you some suggestions that if you can, and if you would want to, work along with me, then it would be nice to, give you an outline, a kind of a template, which you may want to try. So if you are on a bigger device, do join me in, testing out a certain prompt, which I'm going to do live as we move to the next minute. So if you're ready, this is what, you can possibly follow. Like here, I have shown you I am. So give the role, generate a detailed type of what kind of a document you want. on. So you're going to give the theme as to what the work or the topic is and suitable for what course level, etc. If you are planning a lesson, for example, then you must also mention the duration and also emphasize the themes that you would be covering in that lesson. So this could be your, prompt one that you may want to try out. But I'm also going to open up Gemini and we are going to start experimenting together. So this is where I have come to now, gemini.google.com. This is how the interface looks like. And I have a chat box right here where it says Ask Gemini. So I'm going to just type in something here and let's take a look at what that comes out. So, well, to save the time, I'm not actually typing, I'm copying and pasting something which I had kept ready. So here's a prompt. Here I start with, I am a university English professor. You can also say you are a university English professor. Generate a detailed lecture outline on Shakespeare's A Midsummer Night's Dream, suitable for an introductory college literature course. The lecture should fit a 90-minute period. And what do you want to emphasize? The themes of friendship and dreams. So something just as simple as that going in, and I'm not choosing any particular tool, but I'm going to just submit this prompt in the Gemini. And in no time, it's going to give me a detailed 90-minute lecture outline, which is focusing on what the prompt has specified. So this is what it turns out. And it's also giving me the minute breakup. Everything is fine for you to change if you wish to. This is just a suggestion. But of course, it's always great to start with an outline and then modify if it doesn't work to your satisfaction. Or if you want to change it, you can go ahead and change that. Here is something new that I did not get in my earlier test runs. So it's also giving me some kind of oh, that's nice. So here it says friendship tested, the 4 Ethereum lovers, and then it's describing the entire task. And it's also bringing in, they grew up like to a double cherry. So that act 3 scene 2 is being shown, is being supplemented with an image as well. Now, if you are an English professor, think about, does it really fit in your scenarios or not? Does it help you or not? You don't have to follow everything that it says. Further, as we go down the details of this entire output that has come, you need to be aware of little things here. So there is one, how do you use this data? So you can copy response and then paste it into any Google Doc or any other word processor. If you click on these 3 dots, from here also, you can export to docs or in a Gmail as well. So that is, a possibility of you to take this information and use it in any other context as well. So that's as simple as it is to generate a response and then take that response out of the Gemini and then start editing it as well. So that's what the prompt that we first, just now used gave rise to. But absolutely up to you what you are thinking about. The prompts can change depending on what your need is. Few examples that I'm bringing in. Again, if you are looking at a grant proposal brainstorming, you can always say you are a grant writing support coach and I'm developing a proposal to study the impact of AI tools or anything else that you might be interested in. Help me outline a compelling draft that includes a research question, rationale, methods, and potential outcomes. So here is where a lot of being, specific things have been mentioned related to the requirement of drafting that grant proposal. And accordingly, the response would be available, which again is open to modification depending on how you want it to look like. Some of the use cases of just nothing but simply, typing in and asking, getting something out of it could be a research base where you're looking at some kind of a literature review, maybe defining a research question, explaining a method or framework, source comparison. You may be using it for citation starters and formatting help. you can also use it to prep for publications or presentations. So this is just the beginning, where we did not use any specific tool of Gemini, but simple prompt added in, and we saw how it shapes or how it results in the output. There's lots more coming your way, so let's wait and see how that shapes up. So very, very interesting is what we call as the Gemini Canvas in Gemini, which is basically an interactive workspace for turning your ideas into more polished creations. It is also helpful to create, of course, the lesson plans, but to create certain interactive items as well, where you can actually even not code, but use the output that is being created by codes or by coding. So you may not know anything about coding, but Canvas would take care of that. So that is the advantage of bringing in the Canvas. So what we are going to do is change again our view and get back to Gemini and try some of these possibilities to see, what kind of output comes in. Maybe you are interested to create a simple quiz for your students, or you are interested to create a certain kind of a timeline. So let's give it a try and see what it results in. Going back to again Gemini in its framework, in its interface as it is. And here in the chat, we are going to possibly start with creating a quiz and see how that goes. So let's say create an interactive quiz on game theory, right? For maybe just this much should be enough. And now if I just actually click it as submit it, let's close this. So start with choosing a particular tool as it goes, but did create this quiz which is more interactive. So I did want to bring that Canvas in use, but as of now, I have typically just given a command of interactive. The keyword I have used is interactive. I don't want a list of questions coming in. So what's interactive about this quiz? It's just going to generate, it takes a minute, maybe more, and it has generated 10 questions for me. And then you can, open this in the classroom and start the discussion then and there itself, or quiz your students. So again, it has 10 questions, and just for the sake of time, I'm not actually going to read through all of them. I'm going to go more like a tic-tac-toe, but what you can see is that if the answer is right, I get feedback. If the answer is wrong, I also get feedback. So it explains exactly as we are going through it. So that's the interactive nature. It is also bringing in images, which you do need, when you're looking at topic like game theory and prisoner's dilemma. It will bring the matrix, of course, here. And you can again, look at the right or the wrong answers. I'm doing this quick because what happens at the end of it is more interesting than only just going through these questions. So if I have covered 8, maybe I don't want to do the next 2 and I move on. I can. So it's also giving me an indication that I have skipped, and let's say done. So what happens? I got a very poor report card here because I'm continuously talking, not even reading the questions, but let it be. So what happened now? I did the quiz, and then there is a scorecard that is coming in. You could be doing it entirely with your class live, and you can create it on the spot. You don't even have to keep it ready beforehand. You've taught a topic and you just want to do a pop quiz, and you can open it up and start from there. What it is doing is it is helping you to analyze the performance. It is also helping you to revise with these flashcards. So if I click on flashcards, it is going to start, creating these flashcards, revising the concept of game theory for us, which is amazing because, well, if you are going to do them manually, it takes ages to do, right? So this is something which you can then, once you show it, or use it, your students will then also pick up the idea. If they have not, learned it with us or anywhere else, they will get an idea that they can also use Gemini to revise a concept. So do, take it up and take it forward with your students as well. What else we could do with the quiz, as we looked at here, is a study guide that can be formed and more questions. So if you are looking at a possibility of flashcards and study guide is again helping students to revisit those concepts. And you are looking at is a possibility of creating more questions here, where again it will say, okay, what kind of questions you want. Maybe you want the same difficulty level, harder, or you want 10 or 5 or 3 questions. You're able to learn and grow from there. So definitely that is important. Growth areas is mentioned. So, well, I got almost all the questions wrong. So for me, the entire topic perhaps need to be revised. But if whichever way the student has missed out maybe 5 questions, then I say growth area, then it will only pick those 5 questions and build up more questions of the similar concept, so that this concept can be strengthened. So this is something definitely for you to try in your classroom without any preparation. Just open Gemini and start creating an interactive quiz from there. Getting back to the chat, again, important, every time you change the prompt, every time you do something different, do not continue the same conversation, a new chat. Let's actually put Canvas to use here and see the possibilities that it brings to us. So again, I'm going to try and create a slightly different kind of an possibility here, starting with perhaps just a timeline. Let's try that. So suppose here I say create a visually appealing timeline of artificial intelligence. Ensure only the important feature events are marked, etc. The tool I'm going to choose for creation of such timeline is where the Canvas comes in. So I'm going to click on Canvas, and then now the Canvas will code at the back end and will create this kind of a timeline. Let's submit this and see what it turns out to be. So it's going to soon start coding, and you can see that happening right here. I am absolutely, from an era where I never learned coding, which I regret, of course, but now I feel completely empowered because I don't need to know it, although knowing coding is going to add value to this because you will understand what's happening and what you can change. But as I finish, explaining my situation right now, the timeline is ready. As I said, I can modify it. I can give it, iterations and say, I want it a horizontal timeline. I don't want a vertical timeline. I may want interactiveness coming in by bringing these cards, which might, like here, they're showing me more information. So I can click on these cards and it will open up. I can even change the color scheme, but just again, iterating the prompt and say, use, green and red color. So this is where we talked about Dartmouth conference. So 1956, it talks about the conference there, going straight down right up to the Open AI, I think is where it ends here. It comes to 2022 and it's talking about, built on GPT 3.5, etc., etc. So you're looking at all of this coming up in no time. So put yourself back in your, context. What are you teaching? Do you think you need timelines to explain the concept, whether it is humanities or whether it is, political science or any other special field that you are working with? Do you think this is something that can help enhance your lessons? Then this is the tool. But this is only one output that has come in. You can create interactive simulations. You can create any kind of, games out of it, any kind of, one would say, when you want something to work, to move. So if you are a physics teacher and you want to create a simple physics simulation of throwing a ball falling under gravity, use Python. Tell Gemini to use Python. You're not going to use Python, and it will create those amazing simulations which take ages otherwise to do, or you have to look for special pre-prepared simulations. Not only that, what you're also looking at is a possibility of actually sketching the app that you have in your mind. You can actually sketch that app, or even a website, the kind of website you want to create. You can sketch it on a piece of paper. This is what it looks like. You can sketch it on a piece of paper, which I did. Like, I need to have a text box for putting the function in, and then I need a slider to change my values of some parameters. For example, this is what my vision was. I just sketch it on a piece of paper, and then I start asking Canvas to follow the image, and it takes the idea from the image and it gets going. So suppose I have now a slider here. So if I have sign of AX, if I change this, I can see the impact and the effect of the slider. It's very, very interactive. So of course, there are tools like GeoGebra or etc., which would do the same, but it is always great to create something which you and your students can immediately start exploring, and they fit right into the lesson. Moving on to coming to the next possibility, where Gemini is absolutely scaling the way that we are going to do our research. So we are looking at the, of course, I'm going to come back to guided learning later, because that is more appropriate for students. So I'm going to take a skip there, talking about deep research. So if you are, in your field, you are keen on as an educator, do the research, which is, of course, something, as the higher ed goes, is kind of mandatory in terms of keeping up with your profile. At the same time, maybe your institution on a whole wants to put together the ideas and project in terms of what the learnings and what the growth is. So whether it is for personal or for working for your institution, definitely research plays a big role. So if you take a simple example of, your institution leadership is putting together a paper on responsible AI. So that would basically require that you will compare highly complex national and global AI policies, whether it is, UGC or AICTE or UNESCO, even European Union. You want to go and study all of them and then synthesize them into government-table best practices. So to do that kind of a research is precisely where the Google Gemini brings deep research for you, where the number of websites that its kind of sources goes through and accesses them to put together the key ideas, key takeaways, synthesizes them together into not only the multi-page documents, but in varied ways is amazing. So we are going to give it a try right away. But before that, few of the use cases of deep research where it's of course used for planning, it's used for even assessment, where you are comparing alternative grading systems and you want to build up your paper based on, or your research based on that. Instruction materials, of course, creating differentiated lessons. That is also where you are thinking about bringing in deep research. Administrative tasks always. And then, of course, the research. So all of that, and even your students can use this as well. So we are going to try out a topic and build up the deep research on that. And again, giving you a heads up that deep research is going to not only end up with multi-page document, but much more. So let's think of the same AI as our topic, and let's try to build up. So I'm going to get the prompt ready and bring you the page of deep research. So go back to Gemini, open up a new chat. And here are the tools that we talked about. I'm going to choose the deep research, and I'm going to put the prompt here, which is slightly more elaborate. So how do I want, or what do I want Gemini to do? I want Gemini to act like an experienced higher education leader and an AI policy strategist, and giving it as to, what your background is going to be. You have expertise in educational governance, compliance framework, etc. And you're also responsible for leading digital transformation, and then giving suggestions of UGC, etc. And what is its role? It's going to do a deep research on the initiatives to create a public facing web page for your higher education institution. And the goal is to demonstrate leadership in responsible and strategic position. Let's just give it a go and see what comes out of it. So this is where the deep research kicks in. And as you see this, Gemini star going in circle, that is where it starts putting the plan together. As you see, go through it, you will realize that its interface is slightly different than our earlier chats. Here, it is now first sharing the plan. It's not giving you the result directly. It shares the plan. It tells you what Gemini is going to do. And if you don't like this plan, because when you're getting into the research, you have already done your groundwork. You know what all is going to come in, and you may want to tweak this plan. You want to get very specific direction that your research should take. You can edit, or if you're happy with what the suggestion is, you can start research. So this is where it starts now visiting and looking at all the possible related websites, and it will start putting together the information from there. This doesn't happen very often, where, few minutes due to heavy traffic, but we always, whenever we are looking at doing these trainings, we always have a plan B. So this will kick in whenever it is ready, but I have not seen this kind of a message very often. But what we can do is we can come back to our chats here, and I'm going to see if I have something which is semi or 100% ready with me. So let's go back to this one. Okay, this is a career path. It's not the same one. I want on the, I wanted it on the AI policy. Let's see if I can find something immediately. Otherwise, we'll look at what we already have. Okay, give me a minute to track exactly what I'm looking for. Otherwise, we can choose any other topic as well and take a look at what are the possibilities that it generates out of this. Let me see if I can. These are all the old chats that are seen in your account. Every time you try something, it will automatically, give you. So this is just now that we have done. Let me just refresh this also, just to see if it starts working in. Okay, it's not working today. No problem. Let me show you another earlier example of deep research, because the output is what I really want to show you, rather than, thinking of the possible topic. Topic is something you will anyway choose yourself. So just excuse me for not showing exactly the prompt that I have taken right now. But this is also an interesting prompt. This is basically a prompt which says research 3 career paths that combine environmental science and technology. So if you could be the career counselor, you could be a mentor for some of your students, or a student is doing a research on this. And it's also asking describe typical job responsibilities, required education, and future job outlook. So this is what we saw, that there is a research plan that is shared. The moment I start saying start research, it starts compiling, going through that entire set of websites. I'm going to open and show you what this has generated. So this is the kind of a multi-page report that has been generated. Each of these little arrows, if I click it, it will show me which website has been used, referred to, to get this information together. So you're getting the citations as well right within the report. If you want to, do a double check of this information, you can go and try that. All of this is going on and on. It's based on those almost 50 and more websites through which deep research has dug in and calculate and taken out the best information related to the prompt. So this is definitely there, and some of them you can see they are tabulated as well. If you want to export it to a Google Sheet and then do more computation on it, you can do that. But the fun doesn't stop there. There is, let's take a look at on the tab, there are these little things here to think about. Share and export is where you can share this entire report as it is. So if you click on share, it will create a public link. Sometime when we are looking at restrictions of an institution, you may not be able to share this out of your institution, which is perfectly fine, but you may be able to copy the link and share with your colleagues. Or you're able to export this entire text to docs or copy content and then put it in a word processor. You can then edit and modify as you want. This is all about the text. But this is where some wonderful things come out. You can create or take this entire text content and turn it into a web page, infographic, even a quiz, because if maybe you want to test yourself and see whether you have actually understood this content or not, or flashcards to prepare before your presentation of the paper, you want to revise or prepare yourself, that's where it is. And again, audio overview. So multimodal is what we are, happily and proudly calling Gemini. So you're getting all different kind of formats as an audio, flashcards, interactiveness, and graphics. And then, of course, later also video outputs. So this is where we are looking at as a possibility. So web page, if I say, then it will start creating that web page. I did have the web page ready as well, but I clicked on it. So it's, I think, starting again. But this is where I will be able to show you something which I kept ready beforehand. So let's find the web page. Okay, let it work out. So you can see again that coding happening, which you don't have to worry about. The coding will take place, and then once it is ready, you will be able to see the preview from there. Advantage of having this coding also is if you want to take this content, this web page out of the deep research into your own website, you can use this code, copy, and then maybe create an HTML file or add it into your Google site itself. So that's a possibility as well. So whatever is created can be easily shared with others. I'm going to keep that working there and show you the infographics that can be created somewhere or other. It's taking a little longer, but they are all prepared here. Infographics, even audio overview. So infographic is already, here is that entire text put together in a more interactive manner. If your report has a lot of data, then that data would come up in terms of the statistical graphs. Most of the time, these comes up to be very interactive. The moment I take my cursor, it's highlighting. If these infographic colors are not what you like, maybe you have your institution colors, you want it to look like that, you can prompt it to create something or change the colors as well. Let's go back to the web page. Let's see if I can go back to the web page. This is it hasn't created the web page yet. So let's try further down and see where the web page is. This is a quiz. No, it is not created the web page yet. So it's still creating the web page. It's not ready yet, but that's a possibility. I'm going to wait for that to happen and come back to it. But let's take a look at the other things. There is an audio overview that has been created. So again, for some reason, you may not be able to hear if I play this, but I'm going to try. So it's basically a podcast style where two people are discussing the topic. So this is also based on that entire multi-page document that has been created. So that has been basically summarized in almost 6 minutes. So if you are keen on it, you can download it, and on the go you can keep listening to it. People are also using this to download and create their own YouTube channel and put that for their own, ease of learning and listening and sharing. So lots is possible just with deep research. I'm still waiting to see if I can create that web page, but since I'm also conscious of the time, so I'm going to move on and come back to it to see later if it has created the web page or not. But last one attempt and then moving back. So this was the chat we started with. It's still not kicked in. So we'll have to come back and wait for it to happen later. Let me give one refresh to it. So it's not started working, but I am going to encourage you to try or think of a topic of your own. You now know the steps. No more, rocket science is needed to try and build up these things. So I urge you to try and have the confidence that it will work. It does work very beautifully. I'm moving on because I have lots more to catch up with, and some very interesting stuff that I need to catch up, which you can use immediately in your scenario. Other than Gemini, where we are looking at the chat and looking at deep research, Canvas, and also I mentioned guided learning, which is basically more suitable. Sorry, I am altering a little because I changed the flow. I might just go back to, guided learning as well so that we don't miss it completely. So guided learning is more suitable, as I mentioned earlier, for your students because it's basically built on the principle of learning. But because now the Gemini is integrated and the GEMS and Gemini are integrated in your classroom, you might be able to, help your students to, when I say classroom, Google Classroom. So you might be able to help them learn better if you take a particular, style of tool that you are using. So guide them to use this where they will not be able to get the answer directly, but they'll be guided with probing questions to learn the topic. So if you say, okay, teach me game theory, then game theory is to be taught just not been, one would say, by the definition itself, but with steps of, using or being taught in terms of how the particular topic grows. For example, this one, a small quick example, more suitable, of course, from students' perspective, but give them an idea that don't just copy the answers, but ask Gemini guided learning to help you with your homework. So that as they give the prompt, they get an answer back step by step, and then they're also given an opportunity to maybe explore something more dynamic coming with the images, which is absolutely amazing because everything is interactive here. At the same time, each of this discussion stops with some kind of a question, gives the chance to the student to answer, and then the conversation and the learning continues. So this is absolutely essential as a student, learns, but as a faculty member, you need to be aware so that you can guide them to follow this method of learning rather than just asking for the questions and getting the answers out. So that is why I thought I will not give it a complete skip, but will definitely want to make you aware of what guided learning is. So with that, I'm moving to something which is not seen under the tools of Gemini. We are going to be talking about the gems in Gemini. So when I talk about gems in Gemini, basically these gems in Gemini are customized versions of the AI assistant that you can personalize. There are also some pre-made gems that are available, and they're basically AI experts which are tailored to your needs. So they will allow you to streamline your workflows, get more focused responses, and especially the places or prompts that you are repeatedly using. That is where the GEMS is going to play an important role. A very simple scenario where, for example, your students perhaps are asking you same style of questions again and again. It could be very administrative kind of a job. It could also be, a certain FAQs that you are usually trying to have collected together, so that when students ask you, okay, I'm doing this process and what are the steps? What are the ways I have to follow? So even for a situation like that, GEMS is helpful. But as a learning coach, it is helpful for you and your students or many other ways. So let's go to Gemini, see where the GEMS are and what kind of GEMS are already available and what you can do if you wish to create your own. Coming back to this view, and we can go to new chat, but you won't find GEMS here. Right under these three bars, you will be able to see right here. I'm going to try and zoom out, something called as GEMS. Some of the browsers, if they have not updated Gemini, you might find GEMS Manager. If I click on this little arrow, it shows me GEMS that are pre-made by Google. These are the GEMS that you will be able to see. Some of them are already there. I can click on show more and I can see 8 of them in my account. This is the consumer account. In education account, you would have limited GEMS available, different as well perhaps. So you can use any one of them. Learning coach, basically it is made for you to learn something. So whether it is, what are binary numbers, if I just say, then it's going to start a conversation with me, not give me the definition. So it will give you the example. It will also say, okay, these are the base 2 numerals, etc., etc. And then we'll break down this concept. And then it will also supply you with some other sources, could be an image, could be a video, and then let the conversation continue. So this is a pre-made gem, basically made for learning. It could be anything that you want to learn, whether it is, binary numbers or playing chess or any other, maybe your passion or, one would say hobby that you want to pursue, or going ahead, maybe you want to learn biochemistry or maybe just think about cells, any topic, you can go ahead and do that. So these are already pre-prepared. One of them, which is very popular, is Storybook, which basically creates a picture book depending on the prompt that you give. So go ahead and give that also a try. I'm going to try and showcase how to get a new gem made. And this new gem, because I tested this yesterday, so I'm going to first show you this. This is a lab help. So lab help in the sense I have a lab manual and I am ready to, set up an experiment, or the student is ready to set up an experiment, and they want to know what are the things that you might need to set up that kind of an experiment. And so you can have a chat with this personalized, customized AI. Start by just saying hi, and it will start talking to you as to what it is made for. So it says, okay, which specific experiments are you preparing for or working on today? So if you just say maybe experiment 1, let's just give that command to it. You don't have to type a prompt now, if you have noticed. So I'm not composing a prompt, it's made on a prompt. And it's only going to talk about the experiments, etc. to me and will respond directly. So it says, okay, according to the lab manual, because I had used a content and given it, supplied it with that content. So it gives me, mentions the experiment 1, it gives you the list of the apparatus, and then it says, do you need some theoretical help as well? So if I say yes, then possibly it's going to build up the entire content for me, give me what the polygon law forces is. Think of, again, putting yourself in place of in shoes of your students perhaps, because this gem you can share with your students as well. Or you want to use it for your own ease of work, because you're setting up your lesson and you want to know or quick check what are the things I need to have available with me before I do that experiment. So that's just one gem that was created to show you the power of the Gemini, but definitely anything that you want to customize it, it can be done. How do we make a gem? Click on new gem and you can give it a name. So you can say, maybe let's try to get this lab manual only set up. So maybe I can say lab help 2. Okay, not to confuse. You can describe what its role is going to be. And this is where the instructions are going to come. What do you want this gem to do for you? So you have to again follow the parts framework broadly to prompt this. Give it a persona, give it at least a task, give it some context, and of course it helps to give a format as well. So out of the 5 of them, at least 3 or 4 of them must be used to ask it to do something needful. So this is the prompt that has gone in. I can again enhance this prompt using Gemini. This is where the magic actually happens. Very basic language is going to get enhanced when I use the Gemini pen, and it is going to extend this prompt to a much detailed fashion in which you don't have to do much but go through it, see if it's meeting the requirements that you have. You can always add, delete here, and it's good to go. All that is lacking is adding the manual, the PDF documents that you may have, if you want to have as the reference material. This need not be a compulsory attachment, but if you want, for example, your course book. So if you have the entire course book in PDF available, you can use that as the source and make this gem to be the study coach. So your students and you can use it to revisit those concepts directly from the book. Right now, you can upload the file. So if I upload the file, obviously I'm looking at something from my, local storage. Let me see, I do have something ready here. So I've taken one of the file that I could find online of an engineering college as well. But that's entirely up to you, whatever you wish to. Maybe you have your own notes that you want to use or compilation of the content. You can have multiple files added in here. Once they are all uploaded, here it is, that lab manual is done. It's ready to test run. So you can always start the conversation with hi, and it will start talking to you. If you think it's working the way that you had planned to, then we are good to go. You can save it. Else you come back and edit the instructions, edit the content if you want, and the conversations. And this can be edited, of course, anytime. It can also be shared with your students. And if you are a Google entire web for the various sources, or work on or act on the information that is available with all these LLMs that are being fed the data to train, but the data that you share. So we say that Notebook LM is going to respond to, respond to you based on the sources which have been given to Notebook LM. Whether it is just one source or it is 5 sources, it will only process the information that has been supplied to it. And those sources can be in various formats. It could be PDFs, it could be Google Docs, it could be presentations, it could also be just a YouTube link or a web link. You can also have handwritten notes. So again, when you look around, you sit down to put together your lessons, there is so much content that is available. Same goes with your students as well. They have a whole lot of information that is available. But to put all that information together, and only something which you depend on, which you are confident is going to bring you the best information possible, then it becomes difficult task to do that manually. So this is what Notebook LM does. Notebook LM takes all the information that comes together from the sources, could be just one link or at most 50 sources, gives us output in various ways. So that various ways could be, it can give you structured study guides. It can create again audio, video overviews. It will also be able to create quiz mind maps. And now with the pro version, you will also be able to get infographic and even slide decks. So much that is possible, and it can understand up to 50 languages, and 9 regional languages of India can also be used to have the conversation. Because sometimes our students learn better when they think in their and they hear in their regional languages. Although, again, our system perhaps requires them to express their final papers in English. But if we are able to give them the choice to change the language as they'll learn better. So that's an option and a possibility that Notebook LM gives. Audio overviews is something amazing. Just as you saw earlier, deep research creating them, Notebook LM also will be able to give you the audio overviews and multiple audio overviews, which again students can choose to create, and you can choose to create in your choice of language, so that you can hear them and get ready with your concepts better. So whole lot of options and possibilities for you to make use of the various sources that you have. Some pro tip before we do a live demo of Notebook LM. To get the best out of Notebook LM, the source matters. So you must upload the quality sources that you think are going to give you the right information, because if the source has something which is inaccurate, Notebook LM will very confidently will use that information only. So your source must be correct and good quality. You must also, when we start chatting, ask specific questions, explore various ways of that content that can be generated. And of course, as we do the live demo, we'll take a look at how citations can be checked. And of course, every conversation that you have will be a temporary conversation till you save that to the node. And of course, iterate, add or delete more sources, and go ahead and have a lot of interaction with Notebook LM. So let's open up a Notebook LM. And how do we, or where do we go to open Notebook LM? It is notebooklm.google. So notebooklm.google will bring you to this screen. And this is where you can start try Notebook LM. If you have never done it by now, just click on this big black button and it will open a dashboard. If you have never used it earlier, it might only have some of the featured notebooks. If it is a workspace account, you may not have featured notebooks. Then it will look like an empty screen, but with the create new button very nicely highlighted, and we can start from there. Featured notebooks are pre-made by Google. So they are of all kind. You have something on globalization, you have parenting advice, you have so many choices, right? So if you open it, you just are curious to see what it looks like. You can open one of them, for example, William Shakespeare. So when you open this, you will find that it has 45 sources added in here. And this is the area which is the chat area. So you have the, I'm going to change the tab, sorry. This is where we are looking at the sources being added in, 45 sources. The middle section is where the chat and the conversation and processing happening. And the third panel is the studio panel, where we will be able to create the mind maps, the infographics, the audio and the video overviews, etc. So you can see if I click on just one of them here, so it's based on 45 sources, and that entire set of sources of William Shakespeare have been, presented in an infographic format. So that's a power of of Notebook LM. We are also looking at the slide deck that is prepared here. If I just expanded, you will be able to see a beautiful slide deck that has been presented based on all the 45 sources. So maybe you will find the entire Shakespeare content being translated here. Now, this is a pre-made Notebook LM. What we are going to do is we are going to look at notebooks that I might have experimented with. So let's look at my notebooks. So every time you create a notebook, it will be available in your account. Come under the My Notebooks here. And so earlier I was showing the featured notebooks. So under the My Notebooks, these are some of the experimental notebooks that I have created. If I open any one of them, so for example, this one is Bernoulli's equations, principles, application, and derivatives. I have 5 or 4 sources added in here. This is where the conversations is going to happen. And what conversation, what do I want to know from the content? Some of these prompts will be available to us right here. I can actually take the prompt, which one saying, how do velocity, pressure, and elevation changes, etc. So I can just click on that. It takes the prompt and starts answering based on the information available in the sources. And you can see that entire, even the mathematical equations are going to come out very well. Along with this content, what you also can observe is there are some numbers that are showing up. If I click on a number, it tells me from where this information has been taken from. So that is the citation that it is giving you, and everything is going to come only from the 4 sources that have been added here. This is where you can actually start the conversation and learn more about the content. And then we are looking at the third panel. Let's make this go away. And here is the third panel of Studio, where you can create audio overview, video overviews, mind map, reports, flashcards, quiz, etc. So if I just say mind map, then it's going to create the mind map based on the 4 sources. But I could have also selected only one. So out of the 4, I have deselected all of them. I can then select only one. Maybe I want to just use a video or the Wikipedia page. That also is possible. So everything is, customizable. Well, everything in the sense, most of it is customizable. So this is where the mind maps comes in, where each node will further expand and you will be able to see where this information is coming from. So if I want to know the definition, it will go back and open up the content where the Bernoulli's equation definition has been given in. So if you are thinking of using it to build up notes for your class, definitely a place to go, because you can always download each of these pieces of the mind map as an image. So from here, you can download it as an image, as a PNG, add it into your presentation in your lesson the way that you may want to make use of, or do a live demo. That is always better. So this is, something which is very convenient to follow up and make use of. Before I go into creating one from scratch, this is where the settings are, where you will be able to also choose the output language. So here is where you can choose what kind of a language you want. And if you wish to have any regional language, whether it is Marathi or Telugu or Hindi, Bangla, you can choose, so that when you create the content, it will come, although your information is all in English, the Studio will create that content in that particular language. So some of these are the highlights that I'm showing you. Of course, there is so much more that can be discussed in a, separate as a single only focused workshop on Notebook LM. Without wasting any more time, I'm going back to the main page. And we are going to talk about how to create a new notebook right from the scratch, without bringing in any other kind of pre-prepared material in it. So I'm going to basically try to create, starting with just perhaps one source, and then see if we can or need to have more information coming in. So I'm going to start with creating maybe Bernoulli's equations only. Let's take that as a topic. And I'm going to find a lecture which would possibly become the base for us. So let's go to Gemini and, Notebook LM. And here is it. Start with new. Create new notebook. It's absolutely blank. A pop-up always comes up to say add sources. You may start adding sources here, but suppose you accidentally close it. The left side is the first left panel is for sources. This is where we can add sources and bring this pop-up back again. What kind of sources you can add? You can take content from your Google Drive, websites, YouTube links, copied text, and here is where you can choose file of all these many formats. It could be PDF, TXT file, Markdown, even an audio MP3, docx, JPEG, etc. So if you have something stored locally, you can choose file. I'm going to go with a link and I'm going to choose the YouTube. So I'm taking the lecture of NPTEL on Bernoulli's equation, lecture number 11, which I thought is something, there are a whole lot of series of NPTEL lessons. Now, I did not change the language, right? When I did the previous notebook, I didn't change the language. So it came right here in Hindi only. I can still change it. Don't be worried, because it will be nice to stay with the language which we can all follow. So output language, I'm going to go and make it to be English so that we are all looking at it comfortably. Let me find English. And here, so let's change that to English. So this content has automatically been generated, but we are ready to start conversing it with it. So if I'm looking at maybe a question which has already been fed and which is being prompted, I can start, having a conversation from there. If I have a certain question in my mind, then I will be able to again, type and see. Now this has come in Hindi only. So let's see how to change the language of the output, because there is a way. I'm not getting that language. Output language is English. I had saved it. So it's still giving me answers in Hindi. It should have got done. Custom, shorter. This is all good. Let's see. Why is it not changing the language? Perhaps let me try and type and say who is or who was Bernoulli. If I just type in there, it's letting me type in English. It's not converting it to Hindi. So let's see if it is. It's still giving me answers output in Hindi. So I'm a little perplexed in terms of why it's not changed the output. Maybe I'm missing something right now, but should have worked here. Notebook output language, and I have kept it English. Well, there are always, when we do live demos, there are always something that doesn't work, something that I need to learn back again. Never mind. I always have a backup, right? I always have a backup, and 99% times it works. So here is the same backup here, another book with just one video. And this is a conversation that has followed. Now, basically, based on this conversation, if I had asked who is Bernoulli, but I wanted in a perhaps video format, I can create the video. And here is what that video perhaps looks like. So I did test run this earlier to make sure I have content to show you in the limited time. So it will not necessary that it will create a video on the entire lesson. You can create multiple videos, multiple audio overviews as well. And if I have only asked one who is the audio, again, possibly you will not be able to hear the audio, although that is the best part of this output that comes in. But for some reason, it's not going through the Google Meet for me nowadays. But you can see that every part of this 2 minutes plus video has very nice graphics. It has very appropriate information put together as well. And this is just one, output that I am sharing. What are the other things that can, and it's only one source. What are the other things that I can create? All possibly. I can have, another video which was on significance of Bernoulli's equation. Not only just the understanding of, who Bernoulli is, but the significance. So it will again highlight the content, and I have used a different visual style. So you can choose visual styles, etc. And I'll show you how or where you get that. So this is a paper craft visual style, which is being used to create this. So let's create something fresh and see where, how do you do that. These are the various possibilities. As you can see, infographic and slide deck in my consumer account are in beta, but with a pro version, you would be able to use them. So if I want video overview, I can click right in the middle of this button. But if you click on pen icon, then you can customize. Do you want an explainer video or a brief video? So if you have a brief video in your mind, you can use that. You can even choose language here as well. And then you can choose the various visual styles that are available, and then give a brief as to what should AI host focus on. So remember, I just show you two kind of videos. Said, I want to know who Bernoulli is. And the other, what is the significance of this topic? So you can take pieces of it rather than make a full 8 or 9 minute video only on the entire content. I can break it down so that when I'm teaching in my class, the lesson becomes more engaging. Students are going to pay attention for shorter videos rather than a full-fledged 30-minute video. So this NPTEL video is almost an hour long or more. So I've broken this down. So this is very much, on YouTube. So I just took it straight from YouTube. This is a video that is available. They are 55 minutes long. And now you're looking at understanding that video using Notebook LM in various format. In text, so you could have asked a particular question. So when you say, well, how do, assumptions like frictionless flow, etc. works, you ask a question, it will generate the answer, and you can save it as a note, not only for your reference right now, but maybe later you want to compile them or use this note as a source. So you can process the information from here and use that source, that note that we have got. You can convert this to source as well. So you can use not just what you start with, but you can change and add more and more to this. Audio overview works also similarly powerful. Click on this pen icon, create what kind of audio overview you want: deep dive, brief, critique, debate. Choose the language, what should you focus on, and if I want a short length, long, or default, I can choose to do that. Audio overviews are very powerful because they also have a functionality of live intersection. So I can interact in between a live podcast and clarify the doubts, which are absolutely amazing. So again, that part is not getting covered right now, but 100% that's something which you can try. You can have, again, as we said earlier, the flashcards, which we saw directly created by Gemini. But now these flashcards are based on the source that I have used. Last tip is If you do not know which source to add, you have only found one video, you can go and search for the sources as well, discover sources. So here is where you can search the web for those sources. Clicking on this, you can choose the web and then type in the topic. So if I say Bernoulli's equation or principle, I can then search the web for the sources. And of course, you need to vet these sources, make sure that they are dependable, they are going to give you the right information. Because as I said earlier, the quality of sources will lead to the quality of the notebook and the conversation that will follow from there, etc. And again, reminding you that any conversation that we are doing here is based on these sources. So if you ask a question about who is Shakespeare here, it's not going to give you an answer because there's no mention of Shakespeare in any of the sources. But if your sources had a brief mention of Shakespeare as well, then Notebook LM is going to respond on that. So this is where the sources have come up. 7 more sources or 10 sources are being suggested. You can import all of them, or advice is to check them. And how do we open them? Use this little arrow, which kind of a symbol here. This will open in a new tab, and then you can check out whether it is a dependable, because it's giving you derivation, limitation, applications, might be a good source. You can add that in the list and then make the notebook work on it. So this is just, one would say, taster for you, something which should excite you to try Notebook LM. And possibilities are immense, especially with the infographic and slide deck coming in, the various kind of audio overviews that you can create, and you can take your content, the lessons that you might have taught in the past few years, getting enhanced, amplified, and make your classrooms more engaging and inviting for your students. And of course, the research, which can benefit you and others as well. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. And I do hope that this session has...
Before ending a session, guys, for your certification, on your email, we have already shared one email to you where you will get one link for a feedback form. Please do fill the feedback form. And after that, after completing the feedback form, you will be able to download your certification. And you will get another link where you will get 50 plus ways how to use Gemini. So you can refer that link for your future purpose. Okay, thank you so much, guys.